let's get started. Recording.
We are recording.
Got it.
You
Perfect.
Make that little ding, ding, ding now.
Yeah. I do see recording on my side,
Yeah.
so I think
Says it's
we're
recording and videos on, so.
we are
It usually just does
operational.
that ding, ding, but it didn't this.
Okay, thank you, Richard. All right, welcome to the planning board meeting for September 1, 2022. We have brought the meeting to order. We have new business, shoreland zoning application, the Cooks. Deborah Cook, location 81 Lord Lane, map 09, lot 037. Purpose is to turn one bedroom into a living room. You want to remove a portion of the deck and remove a lean-to. Then you want to build an addition with a bedroom, bathroom, and office. This is a, Richard, you wrote down here, this is a shoreland non-conforming lot in a conforming structure.
Yes, the structure is beyond 100 feet and the lot is less than 200. Shorefront.
Okay,
Less than an acre too.
Yes,
I think I saw that, yep, in there. Thank you. Great. Richard, you want to lead us through what you're seeing on this application?
So essentially, I think you look at page 7, should have 7 at the top. You can kind of tell what she's doing is emulating the right side to on the left side. And I know the numbers are hard to read on camera numbers diagram, but I can give you the numbers for the size if you need. So she is taking off the deck that is currently there, which is in picture 1. That's 152 square feet. And then she will be putting on an addition with a closed porch. And that addition is a total of 451 feet with the deck. And as you stated, she's removing 152 square feet of decking, as well as 126 square feet of the lean-to, which gives you 278 square feet. And so the net, after everything's said and done, would be 1,442 square feet.
Did you change the numbers to the footprint or the both floors?
No footprint. Your numbers are off by just a little bit, but you're still under the 1,500 D.
Okay, all right.
You're still good there.
I thought it was like, by the time we take the lean-to and
Yep.
the 12 by 12 deck box, it's pretty much a wash. It's like hardly any additional.
And you got plenty of space as far as, you know, you're still, what is it, 58 square feet under the 1,500 mark. So. Yeah, and I think Hammond's diagram kind of spells it out a little bit better.
So what did you say the addition was in square feet?
The addition was 451,
Okay, yeah,
based upon Hammond.
451 minus the.
Yeah, with,
So it's only, yeah.
Richard, has the application now been signed?
no, I need to get her to sign it tonight if it gets approved. Yeah, so, because I had to revamp the front a little bit,
Right.
for understanding purposes, which is no big deal. Please sign before you leave.
I
Don't-
will.
don't-
So the new calculations are on that, which you have in front of you, that
Which is
we
what I
don't
sent
have.
you today.
Oh,
That's what I emailed you.
Do you need to
I-
see it?
no, as long as someone has. I saw it before, I just didn't bring my computer from home here.
Gotcha.
So
You want to burn your copy?
I'm good.
Okay.
I am totally good. Okay, thank you for the update. Perfect. So we have a structure that a proposed structure that's going to be under the 1,500, so no problem there at that point, right? What other issues do we have for, or what questions do we have for the applicant? I know I have a couple of myself. I want to make sure we get to it, but anybody leading off with something?
If you haven't seen this page also depicts the two sheds that are within the 100 foot, so.
Thank you.
Now that we have the numbers clarified, I don't really have any serious questions. My only question is if you've selected a contractor, because it's gonna have to be a DEP certified contractor, excavation contractor to do the foundation work.
There's no foundation.
It's on posts. How many posts?
I don't know if that's been, we can't remember just some preliminary thing.
Of course, I can't read it, read the last. Yeah,
So,
If it's over cubic feet of excavation, that's when that state requirement kicks in. But historically, when it's been post, we haven't required it.
correct.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
It's just minimum, control soil erosion.
Yeah, of course.
And you're back quite a ways,
Mhm.
Yeah.
relatively speaking, by shoreline zoning standards.
Right, I'm 109 from the closest, but the closest is more in front of the existing part on the far right.
Right.
And then this one is actually more like 130 feet from.
Yeah, because you got that little
But I know
indent
it's
on
still
your
100,
shoreline.
And it's 109 at the very closest to
Hmm.
which is over on that side.
Mhm. Yep. Very good.
As long as we have the application signed tonight, I don't have any issues. with
No
the
issues, okay.
application.
Well, you hit on the thing that I wanted to talk about, because I was thinking with the addition was going to have a, some sort of excavation in concrete, but you're saying no.
No.
So that changes the complexity and
Yeah.
takes away a requirement that I would have otherwise. So we've addressed that. And height of that addition is not to exceed the height of the overall structure,
It's
is that
the
right?
same height as the
Okay.
other side, exactly. So it's almost like a story and a half. At
Mhm.
that tall, it's not really.
Mhm. And so that's going to be a roof that has not existed, right? Because it's going to be the addition is going to be a new place, right?
Yeah, it's just gonna go right on the side of the existing bedroom, so you walk through
Yeah.
that, what's gonna be a living room to get to that.
To that spot, that area.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, how will you handle, or how do you plan to handle roof runoff? Water coming off the roof of that new
Yeah,
structure?
we have like on the other side, we have a gutter that goes over to the side and down.
Okay. And we do have recommendations for other methods that are approved by DEP that we would make sure to offer you as something. It's usually a standing condition with these types.
Typically, gutters are frowned on unless they discharge like to a cistern or something like that, so that the water goes infiltrates into the ground rather than flows over the lawn and towards the lake. So, if it's going into the woods or something like that, that would be fine, but we'll probably approve this with a standard condition that we have that requires you to follow DEP's best management practices for stormwater management. When you get the permit, there's a link that comes with that, the DEP's website, where that information, you can find that information. A common way of dealing with it is for at your drip line to have put in trenches filled with gravel.
Right.
That's usually the easiest and the cheapest way to deal with it.
Yep.
That way the water infiltrates into the ground rather than runs across the lawn or across the yard
Right.
into the lake.
That sound
That sounds reasonable.
achievable? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
I was just thinking, we had just redone the roof on the other part last
Mhm.
year, and we tried to do it without a gutter,
Mhm.
and it just came inside the windows, so.
Not
So,
good.
Yeah.
Bummer.
It's only on that, over the door that we have it, so I'm not even sure if we could put a gutter really on that side. But we can do that with the drainage.
But if you needed to, you could run it to like a dry well or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And what the planning board has for this standing condition is only with the new construction.
Yeah.
Right,
we
it's
don't
all-
have any jurisdiction over
That's all we have jurisdiction
Yeah,
over,
that's
right?
just what you're proposing.
We're just trying to share with you the ideas that are present.
Yeah,
that
would
are
be
acceptable.
the trench with the gutter, and that would be still above the 100 foot, because I have 109,
Yeah.
So.
Very good. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for the applicant? No? Do you have any other questions for us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, we have to go through some parts that are about findings of fact and conclusions of law. It's very dry, but bear with us. It doesn't take too long. It is a process that's
Somewhat of
involved.
an understatement,
Yes, yeah, it is. It is.
but legally required.
Legally required, correct. So, planning board members, are we okay to go to the findings of fact? Okay, great, thank you. All right, so going through this, the application for shoreline permit for Deborah Cook, address at 81 Lord Lane, Belgrade, Maine, tax map 9, lot 37. And Richard, thanks for filling this out. This helps. This saves a lot of time. The applicants on 9-1 applied for a shoreline permit for the purpose of turn one bedroom into a living room, remove a portion of the deck and lean-to, build addition with bedroom and bathroom. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay,
And
thanks.
there may be an adjustment to the roof line in between that they might do, but it doesn't do anything to change the space. It's just the roof line.
Right, I
Yeah.
think Hammond noted that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The application was presented to the planning board on September 1. Next, we get into on September 1. These findings of fact and conclusions of law were developed in conjunction with the consideration of the permit application. Conclusions of law based upon the application materials, testimony and statements, evidence, documents, and other materials submitted to it, and the above findings of fact, the Belgrade Planning Board finds that the project is or is not permitted. Then for the blank where it says use, what's the best wording? Am I just basically copying what the intention is down here?
Read that again, Peter.
Yeah, so it says, based on all the stuff that's submitted, and the above findings of fact, the Belgrade Planning Board finds that the project is or is not a permitted, then something use under section table 14, table 1 in the ordinance.
I think
And further.
you just need to, in this case, it is because it's refers to that table of land
Yes,
uses by zone.
okay. So I'm good with that. So I'm just circled is, so that the project is a permitted use under section 14, table 1 in the ordinance, and further makes the following conclusions based on the applicable provisions in section 16D of the ordinance. 1, will maintain safe and healthful conditions by a vote. The board found this standard was met, and the standard language we have used is based on materials submitted and oops, and public record. And we'll vote for each one of these. So this is about that maintaining safe and healthful conditions. This standard was met. So
Yes.
George, Sarah,
Yes.
I do too. So it's 3 in favor, none opposed. Going on, 2, will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation to surface waters. By a vote, the board found this standard was met based on materials submitted in public record. So
And with the inclusion of the standard condition of approval.
very good point. Okay, that this standard was met. So I included in the inclusion of the standard condition of approval. So George,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I too. That's 3 in favor, none opposed. 3, will adequately provide for the disposal of all wastewater. So by a vote, the board found this standard was met based on, same thing, materials submitted in public record. So George,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
me too. 3 in favor, none opposed. That it will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat. By a vote, the board found this standard was met. George,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I too. 5, will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland waters. By a vote, the board found this standard was met based on application material and
Probably not applicable.
true. 6, will protect archaeological and historic resources as designated in the comprehensive plan.
You don't have any shell middens out there by any chance, do you?
No.
I would say not
I-
applicable.
I would-
There's only 4 in all of town.
I would tend to agree. Yep. Seven, will avoid problems with floodplain development and use. So by a vote, the board found this standard was met based on application material and submitted. So George,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I do too. 3 in favor, none opposed. 8 is in conformance with the provisions of section 15 land use standards. And this is a longer one, but many of them don't apply. So we'll get through it. Trust me. I'm sorry. By a vote, the board found that this standard was met based on evidence in the record and further as follows. So we'll go through all of them. Anything that's not applicable will indicate, and then we'll vote as a whole for those that do. Okay. A, minimum lot standards, NA.
I
Or
would say
say-
yes.
So yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay. B, principal and accessory structures.
Yes.
That would be yes. Campgrounds,
NA.
individual private campsites,
Ditto.
commercial and industrial uses, parking areas,
That's proposed.
roads and driveways,
NA.
signs,
NA.
stormwater runoff,
Applicable.
septic waste disposal systems. Pardon me. Septic waste disposal systems.
Nothing's being
Bedrooms
proposed.
aren't changing, so her septic apart, since she's changed one bedroom into a living room and then putting a bedroom, no addition. No, there's no change.
Yeah.
So it
mean,
does
it-
apply, but there's no, or,
Yeah.
sh-
I mean,
It's a
What do you
lot.
think?
nothing new is being proposed, but it will, it's not going to overwhelm the system is basically what you're saying.
Right, because the bedrooms are staying.
So
same,
I would
same
say-
number.
I would say applicable, and it's yes.
I do too. This is my favorite, K, essential services.
NA.
L, mineral
That's
exploration,
utility work,
Yeah.
by the way.
yes, which you're not doing, right? No utility. Work. L, mineral exploration and extraction. No mining going on? Okay,
Look old.
dang, yeah. M, agriculture. Timber harvesting and land management roads. Clearing or removal of vegetation for activities other than timber harvesting.
That's proposed.
Hazard trees, storm damaged trees, and dead tree removal. Exemptions to clearing and vegetation removal requirements.
NA.
Revegetation requirements.
That's NA.
Erosion and sedimentation control, that is applicable. Well, I would say it is. I don't know. I'm
It
being
is, yeah,
upfront.
no, it is. It's just that the, doesn't trigger the need for the DEP certified contractor.
Right. Shoreline stabilization,
NA,
soils,
NA,
water quality,
yes.
historical and archaeological sites, NA, resource protection, it's not in the district. And then lastly is as conditions of approval needed to meet required Belgrade shoreline zoning ordinance findings in section 16D. This is our standing condition that we have unless we find that it's not applicable. It says, manage stormwater runoff from new or expanded structures in accordance with section 15I of the Belgrade Shoreland zoning ordinance and the Maine DEP's best management practices as outlined in conservation practices for homeowners publication. Well, that was what George was talking about before. We can send you that link. Such measures are to be put in place prior to building use. No, this is a standing condition that applies to all permits unless deemed unnecessary by the planning board based on the following rationale. It applies here, we talked about it, so it does, right? So I think
We still have to vote on the fifth.
oh, yeah, we had, yeah, the long list. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 things that I counted correctly, which was minimum lot standards, principal and accessory structures, septic waste disposals, oh, stormwater runoff, erosion and sedimentation control, and water quality. So based on the application submittal materials and the public record, are we in, so those in favor of approving that these things have been met? George,
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. 3 in favor, none opposed. Okay. So for the overall application, based on, this is for everything, not just the last part. Based on the above findings in fact and conclusions of law on 9/1, the town of Belgrade Planning Board approved by a vote that the shoreland application of Deborah Cook with the above conditions and at a meeting on 9/1 developed these written findings of fact and conclusions of law and adopted these findings on 9/1. So here's our time to vote. This is where we approve or not, right? So, ready? George,
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
I too am in favor, so 3 in favor, none opposed. We wish you the best of luck going forward. You're in good hands, having spoken with Richard about any or all aspects of this, and you know what to do now, right? Just
Yes.
go forward and do your thing.
Just sign the application.
I did.
Oh, you did? All right, very good.
You brought it over.
Thank you.
So if you can come back.
Oh, ninja.
The amount's a little different because there is $25 rolling fee.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've got your check and I'll come out and give it to you. The one you gave me.
Okay, I'll come down tomorrow and see you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. I'll get the board members to sign that. All 3 of them.
We'll do it.
Take as long as you need.
You said difficulty, I didn't see no difficulty in that. Change. Like I said, do you guys have a good carpenter in mind?
Why did not see me?
No, because well, being, I guess Gordon's retiring.
I know.
Yes. It's not completely, but it's.
I'm between.
That's what I'm doing.
Here's the findings
I
of
had a
fact.
hard time- I had a hard
Thank you, sir.
time finding
Appreciate
one
that.
very well. Thankful to get Gordon to do his side work. Yeah.
Good seeing you. Take care.
All right.
Good night. Okay, that's that one. Okay, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, you are our next, up next.
All right, good to see you all. I'm glad you're back at the, in the office, Mr. Upson.
Whoops. Yeah, I guess. Oh, Jeff, I'd like to wait for Richard to come back because this is a commercial application is heavily in his court. so stand by.
That's fine.
He'll be right back. Oh, that's where it is. Okay. Hmm.
All right, so Sarah, since you weren't here when I explained to George and Peter, the piece of paper that you got.
Yep.
It's not as pretty as mine, black and white. So these are some things that I went through and found that either needed some attention from Jeff or clarification. Some things that were missing, so where it says page number, et cetera, that's my question or issue, and Jeff responded, and he did, if you look through, the changes have been made and the proper paperwork has been incorporated into the master permit.
Great,
So that,
thank you.
so if you, yeah, so if you walk, if you're going through it and you're like, oh, page 13 was an issue here, it may have been covered.
Okay,
So this is for the Camp Moden Pavilion. It's gonna be a, open pavilion except for one wall. And I think it was it 5,300 square feet, Jeff?
Yeah, it's something like that. It's roughly 90 by 60, so 5,400 square feet, something like that. And I can share, if I can share my screen here, I'll show you.
Jeff, hang on, we just can't hear you. You don't appear to be muted by our view of you, but we just can't hear you.
Okay. I'll keep talking and then you'll know when you can hear me.
Still not hearing you yet. I apologize.
Okay, I'll keep talking.
The owl's working correctly because it didn't beep, bro. I mean, it's picking me up, so the camera's working, but
Right.
it didn't beep early on the pump.
I can see the owl light is on.
Yeah, I see the lights on, but usually does that beep beep. It's this little button.
I can hear all of you very well.
Still can't hear you, Jeff.
Okay,
Not sure why.
why don't you mute them?
You're
Mute
not
him.
muted on our end.
Yeah, mute him and then unmute him from here.
Think that'll work? Okay.
You never know.
Yeah.
It's mute. Speak now.
Still not.
Now unmute
Now it's
him.
indicating he's muted.
Yeah, now
Right.
unmute him.
Keep clicking, ask to unmute, and it's not doing it. So hold on a second.
Now I'm seeing a red light
Yeah,
on,
next to his saying he's muted.
no,
Oh.
on the device.
Ah,
There, I just turned it off. I don't know if it's supposed to be on or off.
Red light usually bad
Right.
can you hear me?
in my world.
Oh.
Yeah.
interesting.
Not muted here. Okay,
No.
he's not muted, so apparently it's something on. I keep pressing and asking.
There. How about now? Can you hear me now?
How much things?
When he speaks, the mic on the
Yeah.
far right is going.
Picking him
Yeah.
up. We're not getting sound.
Because it's not coming out of there.
Right. So I wonder if that red button is supposed to be. Oh, what was that? Oh, wait a minute. Well, now, Jeff,
Oh, how's it going now?
this is the volume button. Turn it off as up as hard as I can.
What are you making a host?
Will that help? I think?
I don't know. Something worth it. I don't know.
I'm gonna make you a co-host, Jeff, and see if that helps.
Okay,
All right, Jeff,
Yes, can you hear me now?
still can't hear you.
Do you have a speakerphone? I could,
Just stop recording for a moment and restart the owl. That'll restart the owl.
Let's try that.
Yeah,
So Jeff, we're going to stop recording and then restart.
okay.
Get that number, Jeff?
See, there.
660-7449. Perfect, Peter. So we're back to recording. by the way.
Okay.
I think it is recording.
Thank you, Sarah.
I think it's working correct. Yeah, 660, what was it he's asking? 7449. Here's an interesting question. Jeff, can you hear us?
He can. He says he can hear us well.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, and his mic keeps going up and down like he's
Yeah.
talking.
Right.
It's
It's
like-
been all along.
He's not muted. So I think it's owl. Okay, so that red, I would believe, is muted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unmuted.
Mhm.
Will we worth it to turn him off and then on? It's just gonna take all the cameras out. That's probably not a good idea,
He's
not a good
calling
idea.
right now.
It's calling. Oh my God, no wonder. I am in airplane mode. Tell him to call again.
Try again, Jeff, please.
I'm sorry, Jeff. This is now picking up the Verizon. There we go. And we have you on speaker.
Okay, I'm gonna have to mute my computer here so I don't get feedback here. But, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. So how do I do that? Oh, I can mute myself.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to use speaker like this, rather than, going through the computer or using my speaker phone here, because I can hear myself feeding back. Anyway, yes, the building is roughly 5,400 square feet, something like 90 by 60. And as Richard mentioned, it's just a roof with a built small building, a 10-foot wide building on one end. If I can share my screen here, I may be able to show you that.
Okay, good, perfect.
Very good.
And that is-
So, yeah, this is the side of the building here. There's a large fireplace in the middle of the building. And this will be the enclosed end, which is going to be bathrooms and a small storage area. Looking at the end of the building, this is looking all the way through the building, and you can see the large fireplace on the side. And this view doesn't necessarily show the building in on the other end, but you can see the doorways here. This is the storage area in the center, and then a boys and girls bathroom in this area. This is roughly where it's going to be located on the lot. As you drive by Camp Moden, you'll see the baseball field up front next to the main road. Then there's a small wooded area between that, and then the pavilion will be just beyond that, going out along Moden Way, which is the main drive going into the campground. And this sort of shows the storage building up the top north end of the building. And then these three sides will be wide open. We have a few parking spaces out front for delivery vehicles. all the food is going to be prepared in the existing kitchen, and it'll be delivered here by golf cart or pickup or however they get it here. And then it'll be served in this area. So, underneath the pavilion, they're going to have several picnic tables and just a place to get together if it's raining or something like that.
Excellent.
Jeff, a quick overview question. Is this replacing the function of another building on the campus, or is this is just an add-on?
This will be replacing the existing dining commons because it isn't large enough to put all the children in at one time. This will be larger that they can have one serving for all the children.
Will that existing building be demolished or just repurposed?
I think it's going to be repurposed as some sort of recreation area or just a place that they can go and play games or something in the evening. I haven't heard any discussion about tearing the old one down.
Thank you.
So as part of this, we had to do a DEP stormwater permit because this is new impervious area that's being created. And so, let me see if I can get the appropriate drawing up here. This sort of shows the new pavilion in relation to the rest of the camp. Probably this is a better overview. This is the main road out here on the left side. And the lake over on the right-hand side. And this is well away from the lake.
And not in the shoreline zone, right?
That's correct.
Jeff, do you happen to know how far it is?
It's somewhere around 800 feet, I think, if memory serves. But again, that's a little sketchy. This is what's there now. They have either 3 small buildings out front that are going to be demolished when the new, and this is the area the pavilion will be built in the center here.
Okay.
So, Peter, I think the order of today is to go through the checklist and determine if we have a complete application.
Yeah, that's the number one thing, right? So,
You have one?
let's see, I don't have a blank one. We have what's in the book that was produced by A. Hodgson.
Okay, fine.
There is one in here, and we can use that as a template and then indicate if something is or is not met. I mean, I don't mind doing that.
But we will eventually need a clean
Oh, yeah,
one
good point.
for the file. So
Hang on, just one second. That's a great point. Thank you.
I can probably go print it out. But if I don't have one.
I didn't know if I had one right behind the back end of. Yeah, could you get one, please? Thank you.
While he's getting that, this is the stormwater treatment system that's being installed. It's basically an underground soil filter that will collect the runoff from one side of the building and treat it all before discharging it under the existing Moden Way road. So this will appear simply as a fat ditch, as it were. But if it's not raining and if we have a summer like this, may never see any water and kids can run back and forth through it, and it'll be pretty inconspicuous.
Jeff, is that intended to infiltrate the water?
No, the water filters through the top of that, is collected in an under drain system, and then goes out here into a new catch basin we're putting in. And then there's a new storm drain that goes under the road to where we can find daylight about 150 feet away over here. So it drains, it's a surface drainage pond.
And you said that's before DEP for their approval at the moment?
It has received DEP approval on the 12th of August.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And this also takes into account the phosphorus export from the new roof. And all the phosphorus calculations have been approved by DEP.
Very good, thank you. Do you think that we would want to have reference to whatever either one of those approvals are, just for documentation? Not that it hinges, not that our decision hinges on it necessarily.
Yeah, and Richard has already raised this issue with Jeff that we'll need copies of the DEP approvals because our ordinance.
And I believe I provided those to Richard, so he should be all set.
Okay. I thought that was the case, Jeff.
Yep.
Yeah, our ordinance basically says if you got DEP approval, submit that and the town will accept those.
Yep. Good.
Now, I got a quick question. This application has been in the works for 5 years.
Yes.
Wow.
The original plan was a much larger building, and they were going to be enclosed and have sort of another commons feel. We got it all designed, submitted the application to DEP, and then went out for pricing on the project, and it came back several million dollars over budget. So that whole idea was scrapped, and this much simpler facility was adopted.
Interesting.
Money matters.
Yeah.
That it does. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It would have been a great building, but
Hey, we raise our taxes too.
So I will be obtaining signature from Dan McKenzie. Take care of that. The guy mentioned those two earlier, Sarah. He had asked about sprinkler systems, but as Jeff noted in here, his structural engineer said because it's not enclosed, it doesn't need a sprinkler system. And Dan wanted to see this. So I was given his signature. I have sent him an email and a copy of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard, for being on top of that.
So Richard, thanks for the checklist. This is the clean one that, so I'm gonna go through that. We'll determine if it's complete or not, and then we can make our next steps. So we all set to go through that? So the first thing is an application form. Is it that indicating that that is complete?
Yes.
Applicant's agent authorization letter.
Yep, we have that.
Copy of deed, option, sales agreement, lease, or other documentation of TRI.
We also have that. It's interesting that part of that is a deed, part of it's a 50-year lease, which is a new one for us.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember having seen that before. Seen that instance before. Next, written waiver request.
So I have a question about this, Jeff. You indicated it's complete, and there is on page 6 of the application form itself, a waiver request regarding the impact to groundwater as a result of extracting, I believe, for extraction for drinking water. But I also recall that it's going to be less than 2,000 gallons per day or whatever that standard is. It would seem to me a waiver wouldn't even necessarily be needed, but because it meets the standard in the ordinance. But maybe you could explain that a little bit.
Sure, this is actually for impact to groundwater, and I think I explained in the application. It's simply, there's no new demand being created. They're using the existing public water supply from the camp. It's registered as a public water supply. And just using it here rather than using it at the other commons area. They're still using the same amount, just a different place. So I asked for a waiver so we don't have a don't need to do that study.
Okay, thank you.
So you anticipate that there will be more need in the future, or that the camp, I don't know, capacity or use will double in the next 2-3 years, and that's what the waiver is about?
No, I don't. The doubling is just being able to serve all the children at once, serve the meal at once rather than serving in 2 shifts. I don't believe they're planning any doubling of capacity for children.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
So are we okay based on what Jeff has
Yeah,
supplied to
yeah, I
say
am
that?
now. I didn't really understand. I thought it was actually not applicable, but
Gotcha.
But-
Okay. Next up, copy of tax map of property. Is that yes or complete? Copy of Kennebec County soil map of property.
Yep.
Copy of USGS topo map showing property location.
Yep.
Copy of Belgrade shoreland zoning.
yeah,
Map.
actually that's included, even though it's not checked on his list.
Okay. Copy of flood insurance map showing property.
Yes,
Copy of National Wetlands Inventory map showing property.
yep,
Copy of Maine Geologic Survey significant sand and gravel aquifer map showing property.
yes, that's also included.
Copy of Maine Drinking Water Program map of public drinking water supply showing property location. Is it NA?
Did I include that and not mark it, or not include it? The nearest public water supply is for the camp itself. I can send that if that's not in the application.
No, it's not in the application, and to the extent that it's going to be the water supply for this building, at least I would think would be applicable.
Mhm.
I think it's just a matter of either placing it on the site plan or just providing an additional locational map if that's, or printing off the one that is on the drinking water program's website even.
Right. Yeah, that's easy to supply. I can do that.
Okay, so
Very good.
I'm going to put a star by that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, copy of the DOT highway entrance or access permit.
It's not applicable. Jeff noted.
Copy of MDOT traffic movements permit and stuff. Not applicable.
That's not.
Copies of other required state and local permits. So this is long, right? site development plan showing all kinds of things. I won't bore everybody or take up everybody's time, but it's inclusive of much of what we need, all of what we need according to the ordinance. So
Yeah, no,
complete.
yes.
Next, detailed to scale drawings showing location, construction specs of drainage features, roads, sideways, access points, driveways, parking, traffic control features, fire control structures, and public improvements.
Yes, we have that.
Documentation meets applicable state and federal air quality regulatory requirements.
That's it. And
Soil erosion control plan,
we have that. It's part of the site plan.
MDEP certified contractor name and number.
I think that's to be determined. Am I correct about that, Jeff?
Yes, they haven't picked a contractor yet.
So
We can get conditional approval and have them notify the code enforcement officer prior to beginning any earthwork.
yeah, that would be easily handled that way, but it to indicate it wasn't that it's not applicable, it just hasn't been provided yet.
This way I see it.
So we'll have to deal with that as a
Start.
condition.
Yep. Next, location of site structures listed on National Register of Historic Places,
It's an
NA. Location of Maine Historic Preservation Commission archaeological sites.
That's also an
Information needed to meet air quality standard.
NA.
Information needed to meet access to public streets standard. Is that also NA? Because they, or is it applicable, but they've met it because they have an existing?
Yeah, I wasn't sure about this one. I think it's either complete or NA, because there isn't any direct access from this particular part of the campus to a public road. It's
Correct.
done by the internal private road.
Mm-hmm.
So
Should we change that to NA perhaps?
well, that was my thought, but
Yeah,
I don't know what the rest of you think.
I can certainly see the point of calling this particular one NA for this circumstance. Other applications may have different circumstances, so I would.
Yeah, and the
Think about it
internal
differently.
road is grandfathered.
Therefore, I would say NA. Sarah, how do you feel about
I'm
that?
good with it.
You're good with that? Okay. So I'm gonna say NA on that one. Next, protection measures for historic and archaeological resources.
NA.
Estimated quantities of flammable, combustible, and hazardous substances to be stored, handled, generated, and including waste oil and antifreeze.
Yeah, that's not.
This is basically a big tent.
Mhm.
Evidence meets MDEP citing regulations for oil storage and hazardous materials.
That's
Also NA. Copy of application provided to the fire chief. Yep, so working it. So I put a star next to that one. Other information needed to meet material storage standard, including bulk storage of combustible, flammable materials and hazardous substances, NA. Visual impact assessment.
Mm.
Is that NA?
Yeah, that's NA, yeah.
Plan based on IF&W critical areas program recommendations to mitigate impact on natural areas and wildlife habitat, including deer wintering areas.
Yeah. It's
Private-
basically Jeff provided the necessary mapping and that there's nothing anywhere remotely close.
So I would say that's complete. Other information needed to meet natural resource protection standard.
NA.
Is the board requiring a post-development noise monitoring and reporting plan? If not, mark not applicable. If required, mark complete.
Not applicable.
Thank you.
Good luck keeping the kids quiet.
Yeah, right. Which is not that far.
Yeah. Oh, is that right? You can hear it from your house.
Yes. On a clear night and stuff, and nothing else going on, you can hear activities. Information needed to meet noise standard.
That's complete.
Exterior lighting plan and specifications for lighting fixtures.
So I mentioned this to Jeff, that you may want to see an illustration of lighting to be used. It's the last one on that page that I gave you. And he would like to have a condition of approval that he submits to me the lighting fixtures for conformance with full cutoff shielding requirements. And I think he's going to use the same type of lighting as was used on the Watson Family Farm down lights. If that's not correct, Jeff, please intervene.
No, I think that's fine. The other thing is that I'm not sure there are going to be any exterior lights at all. Most of the lighting will be in underneath the canopy. By the time it gets dark and the kids are still there, they're usually not eating or wouldn't be using the facility. So there may be some exterior lighting just for security.
Okay. So I'm thinking the lighting would be minimal, but if there is exterior lighting, we would want to make sure that that's part of this plan, right? And using the same standards that anybody else would have to use. So I would say condition on this one.
Yeah.
How does the board feel about
Yeah,
that?
no, I think that's appropriate as a, just to clarify what's already in appendix, exhibit P,
Okay,
as Richard noted.
so I put it as a star on that one. Next up is board requiring post-development light monitoring and reporting plan? I don't see a need for
Yeah,
that.
no,
Does
not
anybody?
applicable. It's going to be downward facing lighting if they have any.
Yep. Information to meet parking standards. None is being proposed, right? So would that be
Well,
considered?
There's some parking for delivery vehicles. As Jeff noted, when he showed us the site plan, I actually thought it's complete rather than not applicable.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's do that then. So I'm gonna say complete. Written statement from fire chief on capacity of fire department to provide adequate protection. Do we,
Working on it.
working on it? So I'm gonna say it as a star. Written statement from the sheriff's department approving any proposed security measures or any proposed?
No, there aren't.
No,
So is that NA in this case? Or is it,
Yeah,
okay,
I gotta ask something about this.
about that one?
Yeah, when we talk about security, we're dealing with children there. Is it going around
Yeah.
that?
there's an existing camera system at the gate and the gate is closed most of the time. You have to have access or approval to get in through the gate into the area. So this would be in the same enclosed supported or security perimeter as the rest of the camp.
Okay,
So there's nothing new here that would be, but that's a good point. With kids, you gotta always be concerned.
mm-hmm. And the umbrella of the sheriff's department will have nothing to do with that. Would they, I mean, I don't know how the rules work here, just curious about that. I
Good
guess.
questions. You're wondering about how the sheriff's department,
Interact with this facility. And so adding this new structure where the children are gonna be,
Mhm.
if that's something that is part of their plan and is reported in their internal plan.
I don't think it's any different than the current buildings they have where children use.
Okay,
So I
Yeah.
kind of think it's any, doesn't really apply.
Mhm.
okay,
in terms of the limited scope of our ordinance, I think it's correct to say that it's not applicable.
Mhm. But philosophically, it's a good question, right? It's
Yeah.
good to know. Moving on, other information to meet public safety and emergency services.
And we now have information to indicate that the state fire marshal office doesn't have to issue a permit. Is that correct?
It did not sound like he did. He just simply wanted to know about a sprinkler system. However, he was not informed at that time that this thing was gonna be a pretty much open pavilion.
So maybe we should keep this on hold until we hear back from the fire chief.
Yeah, I'm gonna I sent Dan an email earlier with a copy of this that he wanted to see, and I also noted that the structural engineer for AE Hudson stated that they didn't need a sprinkler system. So Tuesday, I will follow up with Dan on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is John Hancock.
So I think we should get back to this one. 'Cause
Yep.
Dan would note that.
I agree. So I put a star next to that one. Information to meet screening of structures, parking lots, and other non-res uses.
It's applicable, but I think it's complete.
On one side of the tree line. So
Next, to scale profile, face on, view of proposed signs. None are proposed, are there?
Yeah,
No, no new signs are proposed.
Yeah, the only sign proposed is to say pavilion on the sign. You know,
cow hall or something.
yeah, or something like that.
So,
Eat here.
so is that complete? Would you call that?
Yes, I
complete?
would call it not applicable,
Not applicable, okay.
given the kind of signs that standard's intended to regulate.
Other information to meet sign standard, NA?
Yes.
Stormwater management plan, Jeff did talk about.
And we now have that.
Yes, it's exhibit R. Yes.
So, are we, say,
I should say we have documentation of DEP's approval.
Yes. Yeah,
And that's-
I did provide a copy of the DEP permit. They've approved the stormwater management plan.
so I think George has a question that's a question to Richard, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Richard, you have that, right?
Yeah, if this is what you're looking for.
Yeah, as long as it's with the, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking
Yep.
for.
So that's
Great.
complete
Thank
then.
you. So,
So other information to meet stormwater management standard? Stormwater, so that's, would you consider that, I would consider that complete, I think.
Yeah, I would say complete or not applicable, one or the other.
Next, subsurface waste disposal site evaluation form, that's the HHE form, which we talked about here, correct?
Right, and that was approved last summer and installed last summer.
Thank you, Jeff.
So I would say that that's complete.
Okay. And I'm thinking that the town has that form.
I made mention of it.
When this was installed, it was about the same time that Mr. Savage, the previous code enforcement officer, was leaving. And so we had filed the HHE 200 when the contractor was installing the thing. He found, installing the septic system, he found an area of clay that had not been identified during the testing. And so we agreed to move it, I believe, 17 feet. The same size system, just relocated by 17 feet to put it into more homogeneous soils that would be able to handle that. So I'm trying to track down the office now whether we actually filed a revised septic system design that showed that 17-foot relocation. This was also the same time Al Hudson, the owner of the company, had done the previous design, and this was about the time he took ill and was not able to do some of the work. So if you don't have a copy, we're looking around to see if we can find that, or need to work with everybody to find out what you need to make that complete.
And Tuesday, Jeff, I'll look in the assessor's file and see if I can find it, or I'll look through older permits. What year was that?
21.
The email that I had with the previous code enforcement officer was September 29th to 30th.
Okay.
We had some discussion going back and forth, and I looked at those files today, and I said, we do something, and you can't find a record that we did it.
So I'll look in the assessor's file, see if I can come up with a copy.
Okay, if you do, please let me know, and I need a copy as well.
Jeff, I don't have all the time in the world, my friend.
So,
I'll get that to you if I find it, Jeff.
If you find, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
so I've kept that as a start item, right? Because it's,
I guess so. I guess so. We can check back on this.
then next is other information to meet waste standards,
NA.
groundwater quality and quantity impact assessment.
It's NA.
NA. Copy of deed restrictions related to drinking water and groundwater protection.
That's NA.
Copy of main drinking water program, public water supply approval and source water protection plan.
I think that's NA because that's already,
Right,
that was done when the well was put into place.
originally, yeah. And they're not changing sources, they're just moving where it points
Right,
to.
yeah.
Correct.
Copy of MDEP stormwater management permit.
Believe now.
Complete. Great. Phosphorus export control method, I think,
And we have that also from DEP.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Complete.
part of the stormwater plan.
Thank you. Other information to meet water quality standard.
I think that's NA.
Supplemental site plan requirements for mineral extraction.
And,
I think we're NA from here on
Here
out.
now, yep. So mining, NA, hydrogeological study of groundwater movement and quality, that's NA. Because these all apply to the mineral
Yeah.
extraction. I won't bore everybody's time, I'm just looking at to see if there's anything. Telecommunications does not apply. Not a wind turbine. That last one, it says hiring of an engineer by the town at applicant's expense to document road conditions prior to use.
Yeah,
That's
includes
relative to
wind
the
energy,
transportation,
wind
right?
energy, yeah.
So that's NA. And then emergency response plan during equipment transport, that would too would be NA. And turbine, general liberty.
Yeah, that's because sometimes they have to move poles and stuff.
Yeah, just to get stuff. Okay, so this is nearly complete, right? We have, let's see, let me just do a quick recap. Like half a dozen maybe? 1, 2, 3,
7.
4, 5, 6, 7. Seven things to visit. Okay. And Jeff, do you want me to read them to you, what I have?
If you could, please, that'd be helpful.
Sure. So the first one I have is the copy of the main drinking water program map and public drinking water supply showing property location.
Yes.
Next thing that I have is main DEP certified contractor's name and number.
And I think that's probably gonna have to remain conditional because he hasn't been able to wind up to start work this fall. We weren't sure when the permitting was gonna happen. So this will likely be about this time next year they will start the work. So
Okay.
if we can make that conditional, that'd be terrific.
Okay. Then next I have is copy of application provided to the fire chief by the CEO, and that's in works right now. Right? Then I'm turning the page. The next one I have is, and Sarah, help keep me honest
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
straying at all. Exterior lighting plan and specs for lighting fixtures. So whatever they may be. Okay. After
Again,
that,
I spoke to Mr. Wolken about this, and he hasn't really decided on lights yet. So if that could become conditional, that would be good.
Okay. Next up would be a written statement from the fire chief on the capacity of the fire department to provide adequate protection. I think that would follow suit. That's in the works. Next up, other information to meet public safety and emergency services. I had that one as a star. Start item. Next, subsurface waste disposal site evaluation form.
Yeah, what was the one about public safety? I just wanted. Okay, that was just, I'd left that blank, and that's, something about the sprinkler and, getting the fire department signature. I thought those were synonymous, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of us hearing back from the fire chief as to what, if anything, is required there.
Okay,
It would be the anything part, right?
Yeah.
If they said, oh, and then this, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if that, you let me know what he needs and I can try to get that as quickly as possible.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, thanks. Okay, then I think is there just one more?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna be reading number 7,
Oh, sorry, where was I?
and we were.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, the subsurface waste disposal site eval form, the HHE one. And parties are on the hunt for that, right? Right. So, right, yeah, on the prowl. Thank you, Sarah. Did I miss anything?
No, we're good. Actually, Jeff got to walk away only with one homework item to do, which is the very first one.
Just the drinking water. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep,
Wow. You okay?
not bad at all.
I'll pat myself on the back.
Yeah, there you go.
This is awesome. actually.
Peter, I have a proposal for you and Sarah's consideration, and Richard, please weigh in if you feel this is off base.
I do.
Just by default.
Of course you do, because I'm proposing. The outstanding items are relatively minor, are going to be handled through conditions. And rather than having this go 3 meetings, I would like to suggest that we ask Richard to notify everybody within 500 feet between now and the next meeting. That way we can complete, follow up on the items that are outstanding here, and then move right on to the approval process and our substantive review of the contents and whether the standards of the ordinance have been met.
Mhm.
And, you know, I wouldn't normally make that kind of a suggestion, except in this case, this is a pretty straightforward application. There's not a lot of complexity here. There's nothing controversial being proposed. You know, there's no threat to groundwater or anything like that, or surface water. I guess I would just put that suggestion out there.
Sarah, how do you
I
feel
feel
about that?
very comfortable about it.
I think it's a great idea. It's efficient. And in this case, with what's being proposed, I think this is very,
You know,
this would be a
if
good
we had
solution.
Major substantive parts outstanding, you know, as we sometimes have had in the past, I wouldn't even consider making that suggestion. But
Mhm. Yeah, but what is outstanding is minor at this point.
yeah,
And I would feel very comfortable if we could move in that direction. So then the next
the
question
biggest
really,
item really for me is getting feedback from the fire chief.
So if Jeff and I can work together and get all of those 7 items completed, then we'll review it next board and complete the application. Is that how I'm understanding this, or?
And because, you know, I think this isn't what's outstanding isn't particularly difficult or anything. What I'm suggesting is normally we don't notify have the abutters within, or people landowners within 500 feet be notified until we, you know, got everything and Peter signed off on the checklist, but I'm suggesting that we kind of fast forward and do that between now and the next meeting. Part of my rationale, frankly, is you're gonna be here to be able to do that, and after that, you're not.
Right.
Yeah, but the only contention I have is the length of time. He doesn't even know when they're breaking ground. It's not even gonna be this year. And if I notify butters that they're potentially building this next September, are they gonna remember that?
Well, no, it's more so they can participate if they wish at the
The
next,
meeting.
at the next planning board meeting. It isn't so much about when it's going to be constructed, it's more really, to be honest with you, my self-serving reason for this is to get this off our plate and move on to the next
I'll
applications on the backlog.
notify the butters. I don't care. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think that'd be great.
Very
And,
good.
and then abutters who would participate, who wish to participate, that would be part of that process, that everybody would be, able to attend if they so choose. So I think that'd be a great way to go. So thank you. Do you see any problems, basically achieving the back and forth between Dan and
No.
doing some research?
I mean, usually Dan's very receptive to me, and we sit down and go over things together, and if he sees an issue, he'll bring it to my attention, and I'll bring it to Jeff's.
Okay.
Jeff and I communicate well, and he's right on the ball with things, so, I had all these items on the paper that I thought keep some attention, and he got right on it, so I don't think we're gonna have a problem. I think by next meeting, everything will be in this package.
Fantastic.
Very good, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, that'd be
Assume,
great.
Jeff, you don't have any objection to that.
Not at all.
It's okay. Awesome.
I thought not.
Okay. So if that's the case, let's see. Oops. So are we okay then to put this one to bed for the moment? So the commercial app is now
I think so.
great. Let's move on our agenda. Next up is the CEO update.
You all set, Jeff?
Yes, thanks very much. Thank you, Sarah, for letting me use your phone.
No problem, thank you.
It works.
Yes, it did.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
By Jeff.
See you.
So all I have for permit updates is, right now I have 8 shoreline, 2 are incomplete, both awaiting PBRs. And since I am leaving, I'm putting sticky notes on with dates for the planning board. So that the incumbent or Mary handling things knows, hey, this one going up on this thing. I will be here it'll be my last day and my last planning board, for 15th, and we'll have 2 shoreline applications. Dates.
Okay, so we'll have 2 shoreline and then this one.
And we'll.
Yeah. Fantastic. Any other updates from your end?
I don't think so. Things
No?
are quieting down. I think the building's coming to us, slowing down, so to speak. So,
Better knock on wood, because there's been some years where all of a sudden all kinds of contractors show up,
Yeah.
right before ground freezes kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
So no other updates from you?
I don't.
No.
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna address you about my leaving now.
Okay. I just wanted to say to you, Richard, I wish you the very best of luck in the next role that you have coming up for the town of Manchester. They're gaining a great asset in you. I was bummed to see that Belgrade's too far from your home for you,
Yeah.
but Belgrade's not moving any closer, and so that's all there is to
Well,
it.
I asked a couple people to buy me a home in Belgrade.
Yeah.
I'm willing to move here.
And no one
No one even
offered?
looked at it.
I'm surprised, no.
Yeah, I didn't even demand.
On a lake,
waterfront.
right, on a lake.
I didn't even demand that. I just said Belgrade.
Hey, what's $250,000 to down Belgrade?
So I'm sorry to see you leave for Belgrade, but I'm glad for Manchester because they're gaining you. And I think you've been an excellent resource. I want to make sure you know that I appreciate what you have done for us. It's been a pleasure working with you here. And I've seen you really attain a lot of skill in this profession. So thank you very much for all you've done for us. It really, I can't say thank you enough. So thank you.
As you probably know, my wife spent her entire career as an attorney for MMA, and her general sense of Manchester is that it's a well-run town.
Good.
She doesn't say that about a lot of towns.
It's not
Not as
gonna
much water.
get, no, it's gonna get much better, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Way better now.
Moving on up. Do you remember that tune?
Oh, yeah, I used to watch the Jeffersons. I'm not that young.
All right, great. Next up is old business. We have planning board agenda minutes from the July 21st, August 4th.
You know what? I don't think those are submitted by next.
Okay, so if we don't have them,
That's it, right?
Yeah, he did have COVID for a while. Then he had some family issues, I think, he's dealing with, so. He told me he was going to get them to me, but I didn't get them.
okay,
We really, I mean, town really needs to work on somebody. They did, you know, like
yes.
permanent, full-time, like,
You mean have a secretary?
yes.
Exactly. It's like the most important position.
Yes.
It-
It's too bad that we're lacking in that.
I happened to be in the town office to pick up something, I think for the planning board.
Only that.
Yeah, this, and happened to talk to Mary about this, that, and the other thing. And she said they've even raised the pay to $20 an hour and they can't find anybody.
Wow. Wow.
And the drone's not only here, it's everywhere.
Yeah, no, it is.
Mhm.
It's everywhere.
Hmm.
We went, 2 weeks ago, we went to take down my son Josh to Georgia. And on the way down, any place we stopped, help needed, everywhere.
Mm.
Now down there in Georgia, back then, gas was $3.30 when here was still $4.50. So
Mm.
it's
So,
a lot,
cheaper.
a lot difference.
I live in
Well, we're
South
catching up
Carolina.
now.
I live in South Carolina, there's a station down there, gas, even back then, gas was cheaper than up here,
No
Yeah.
kidding.
by at least 75 cents a dollar.
We're at the end of the pipe, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because there is a pipeline that
Yeah,
that moves
That's
oil.
all.
in.
I've always wondered our proximity to Irving and St. John, New Brunswick apparently doesn't help us much.
Apparently not, except we have more stores that are Irving stores or have had.
Yeah.
But anyway, anything else? No?
Mm-mm.
Okay. If, we're gonna get to Shane in a minute, but I want to conduct official business first, then I'm
Sure.
gonna close the meeting.
Sure.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Anything else from anybody?
No.
If that's the case, movement to adjourn.
I'm sure.
Okay,
Make a
second.
motion.
and seconded, all those in favor? So George?
Yes.
Yes, Sarah?
Yes.
I too am in favor. We are done. And you're stopping recording? And I'm going